Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh, and whatever special guest he has today, you can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good, and follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program. We have an author here of A Fool's Errand, Ryan Schiff. Ryan is a Chicago native. He also spends a lot of time in Georgia. And he wrote this book called A Fool's Errand, which really sings to the heart of a soul golfer, which is what we're all about here at Party Time. My golf story. Started golf, an introduction with an elderly neighbor. Learned some life lessons from this elderly neighbor, but he was young at the time, so he didn't realize the impact that this would have later in life. But just how life works, as we get older and more mature, we look back at the people who were influential in our life, and we're like, holy smokes, that all made sense. That was like just putting the building blocks in place, and this led me to this place. So I'm talking about singing to my core. This is very similar to some other books that I wrote about the role of fishing in my life, the people that introduced me to fly fishing and golf. So his story is my story, and it just might be your stories as well. So I think it's really going to sing to you, and you're really going to love it. Ryan Schiff, A Fool's Errand, is our guest coming up here on Party Time. Big thanks to Party Drinks if you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, and if you're tired of beer or hard seltzers, whatever it is that you're drinking. If you do like to indulge on the golf course, fine, but you may as well have the good stuff, and Party is the good stuff. If you don't have it where you play golf, get in contact with the pro golf staff and also the beverage staff and say, we need this Party stuff because it's for golfers by golfers. And Paradise Craft Distributors is the exclusive distributor of Party drinks in the great state of Florida. If golf real estate is in your plans, no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club. Wearing the logo right here. Greater Sarasota area, and nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh, Samantha Walsh, and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com. They got you all taken care of. If you want the best golf on the west coast of Florida, no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club. And if all that golf has got you tired, you need a place to unwind, you need a hot tub, cold water plunge, a massage, whatever. If you're into the mani-pedi stuff, whatever, or your wife is, by the way, no better place than Violet Spa in downtown Sarasota. All right, let's bring Ryan Schiff on board here. My man, Ryan, does the spa stuff sing to you? Are you a spa guy? Is my wife a spa gal? What's going on?
I'm a cold tub guy.
Oh,
it's life-changing.
Yes. Well, why for you? It's been for me, but I want to hear your story.
Yeah, I played hockey my whole life and always had ever since I quit playing, I had like lower back issues and just general tightness and soreness to the point where I play golf and I wake up in the morning and I have to kind of hunch all the way into the hot shower until I could stand up straight. And about 3 years ago, I started doing cold tub every morning, like 43 degrees, like about 4 or 5 minutes every morning. And it's been 3 years since I took an Advil. I don't have any more soreness. All the swelling's gone. So I'm a complete convert now. I'm at least once a day, sometimes twice. So it's the most miserable thing that is also awesome. So it's a tough thing to grind through, but I feel great when I'm done.
You're singing my story because you just feel reborn. I think you said that.
Oh, yeah. And you get out of it and you could like run a marathon. You just feel so good. And I'm totally converted. I try to tell everyone that I know that is, in our age group that's getting older and you're doing your best stretching or yoga. I do a lot of yoga, a lot of stretching, but you have to find a way to reduce the swelling in your body. And I just feel like the cold tub for me anyway, has been life-changing. It's been amazing.
Well, think of it this way. What is pain? Pain is just inflammation. So if you can reduce the inflammation, You got to be careful with the pills. All right. We all know stories about people that had a problem with that. So you're kind of going down, you're on a slippery slope. There are no side effects to cold water plunge. I mean,
and also I think it makes you mentally stronger. Like for me, when I get out of that in the morning, I feel like I've done something that 99% of the people in our population aren't willing to do. It's not that they can't, they're just not willing to do it. So it makes me feel awesome to start my day that way. Like I've actually accomplished something, even though all I've done is get in a cold tub. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it kind of is, because the people that do it, you're kind of nuts. Like if you're willing to get in there every day and sitting there for a while. So I feel like for me, it's a great way to start my day. Not only do I feel materially better than I did 3-4 years ago, but I feel like I start my day on a really high note, so to speak.
Well, nobody can beat you up worse. The day can't beat you up worse than you did when you get in the cold water.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a charge. It hurts at first.
Yep.
It takes about 2 weeks to really get into it, and then you get addicted. No side effects. Stay away from the pills.
And it's great for your breathing too. Like I really work on my breathing when I'm getting in, because you have that fight or flight instinct when you initially get in. You want to just get right out, and I just try to really slow breathe through the whole thing. And I'm usually like 2 minutes in before I even have stopped my slow breathing and really realized that I only got 2 minutes left. I can do this, no problem.
Well, tell me about the breathing. Do you have, aside from slowing it down, do you have a special technique? Science behind it?
It's like what they call that Navy SEAL breathing, where you go like 4 or 5 seconds in, hold for 4 or 5 seconds, and then 4 or 5 seconds exhale. So I just try to do that. And it's funny, if you think about it timing wise, if you do 5 of those breaths, you're already at 60 seconds. So it feels like your cold tub goes so much quicker when you're focused on the breathing and not how cold you are.
I had no idea this conversation was going to go in this direction, but I don't mind it at all, because I'm all about the conversation. But I think the original jumping in point was you love golf, and it's had a profound role in your life. Take me back to the roots and the origin of it.
Sure. So I wrote this book about it, but effectively, I was a hockey player growing up. All I ever wanted to do was play in the National Hockey League. That didn't quite work out. I wound up playing in college, and I played some minor pro for a couple of years. But when I was a kid, that's all I ever wanted to do. And my across the street neighbor was an older guy. I really didn't know him much, but one day he came across the street, kind of ambled over, and asked me to go play 9 holes with him at the local muni. And I didn't have golf clubs or any. I really didn't even know why he was asking me. And I was, middle of the summer, I'm shooting pucks in my driveway, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'll just go. Why not? Asked my mother. I borrowed her clubs. I didn't even know my mother played golf. She had clubs in our garage that were just sitting in there. I was a small kid, so it was totally fine. The clubs worked. And, we went over and spent, 3.5 hours there that day. We had to wait, the whole public tea time thing. We sat there, we put our name in, waited 30, 40 minutes, we paid our greens fees. I was trying to think what it actually cost. I think it was $9 back then, and that was for 9 holes, if I'm not mistaken. I might have been 10, but I think it was like $9. And, we spent the day playing 9 holes. He taught me, kind of how to grip the club, a little bit about putting, just general rules of the game, which club goes where, just very, very basic stuff. And then I went in the hitting net, tried to swing it a couple times. The funny thing was I shot a hockey puck left-handed, which, most guys, if you're right-handed, play hockey left-handed because you want your strong hand on the top. And my mom's clubs were right-handed. So back then, this is 50 years ago, there weren't that many left-handed clubs anyway. So I just got in and turned around the other side, and it felt a little awkward, but I played enough baseball as a kid. It was fine. And I played one time. We had a really nice time. He was very kind. Like, and it was interesting. I wrote this in the book too. Like, both my grandfathers had died when I was very young. So one of them died when I was like, I think 2, and the other one when I was 8. So I remember the second one dying, but not really the first one. But I didn't have a grandfather. And my dad worked a lot when I was a kid. He worked many hours each day. He was, grinding. And so, it was kind of weird to have this old guy take an interest in me. It was almost like, I feel like maybe that was like having a grandfather maybe. since I didn't have one. And we went back maybe 2, 3, 4 more times that summer. And I had to joke with him and tell him, because back then golf wasn't cool, right? There was no Tiger Woods there. Jack was kind of coming into his own, but it wasn't nationally televised and players making millions of dollars. It was, golf was just something that kind of rich people did, so to speak. And I had joked with him that I can't tell any of my hockey buddies that I'm out here because I'll get locked out of the locker room. Like, these guys are no chance they'll think this is cool. So I kind of had it on the down low, but I was enjoying my time with him. And as I think back about it now, what I was enjoying was kind of the life lessons I was learning. Like, this guy walked with a rhythm and pace that was like never hurried. He wasn't rushed or bothered about anything. And again, I'm giving away a little bit of the book, but he only counted his pars. So the first time we were done playing, at the end of the round, I was trying to figure out like what I shot, and I was looking at the scorecard, and I said, "What did you shoot?" He said, "Oh, I don't add up the score. I don't keep score in like a traditional sense." But he said, "I made 4 pars today, and that's pretty good for me." And I just was so dumbfounded, kind of like, well, what do you mean you don't keep score? Like, what was the point of playing? I'm a 12-year-old kid. I'm highly competitive, trying to play hockey and play baseball and all sorts of other things. Everything I did in my life at that time had an end result, whether it was taking a test in school or, playing hockey or, every game had a result. And here was this guy who just went to literally enjoy himself. And if he made 4 pars, he was happy. If he made 1, he wasn't as happy as if he made 4, but he was happy to be there and couldn't wait to go back out again. And then, he lived his life to just go to the course, enjoy the time. And even like you get paired up at a public course with other people. That was another thing he had told me, like, we'll probably get paired up with another twosome because, it's late in the day and they're going to shove everybody together. He goes, but don't worry, they're going to be nice people. They always are on the golf course. Yeah, and
that's true. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it is. And I look back on those times with him, and I really didn't understand at all as a 12-year-old what I was learning. But what I was learning was about making relationships, forming them on the golf course, and how Jack Nicklaus always says you can learn everything you want to know about somebody in one round of golf. Like the amount of people that we met through those maybe 5 to 10 rounds over those couple of summers, it was really neat to watch him interact with these people that he didn't even know, but by the end they were talking to him like they were old friends. And
yes,
I watched him amble through. His swing was just like his walk. It was slow and rhythm, and he just hit it 180 yards down the center, and then he'd go hit it again, and then he'd chip it up and putt. The game was simple for him because life was simple. He was a guy who just lived across the street and loved to play at the public muni and really didn't want for anything more than that. He enjoyed sunsets. He enjoyed, seeing animals on the course, whatever it might have been. And, as I'm turning 60 this summer, I have spent some time when I was writing this book thinking back about my journey in golf. And I think I was telling you before, but I listened to that podcast on the TGL about fly fishing, which is something that you are very passionate about. I've been once, and I kind of understood the whole rhythm of how it is very concentric with life. But as I started listening to that podcast, I thought, my story is more so golf, and I wonder if I can share like kind of my lifetime in golf, and would it have a similar impact as this fly fishing did on me listening to it. And so that was kind of what motivated me to write about it. And, I think, I look back now on my 12-year-old self and the lessons I learned, and I've kind of come full circle to want to be like the guy who took me to play golf in the first place. And I've really tried to impact my kids and the people that I know in the same way that he impacted me.
Very nicely said. It sounds like you were with a true gentleman, a true golfer. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a couple things that really stood out to me. His swing was what it was, but it matched his personality. I'm a true believer in that. Mm-hmm. If your life's erratic, you probably have a wild swing. Mm-hmm. If you're a calm person and your life is all together, you have an elegant swing. But you saw a man, and you saw how he interacted with people, and he was present in the moment, was not so much focused on the result.
Right.
And it had a massive impact on you later on. Where are you from, Ryan? You're from
Long Island, New York. I'm originally from Long Island, New York. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a Chicago connection as well?
Well, I moved to Chicago. I went to college in the Midwest, and I kind of chased hockey around for a couple of years and settled in New York. I worked for a couple of years in Manhattan, but my wife at the time is from Ohio, and we just decided we didn't want to raise our family in New York, and decided to pursue an opportunity in Chicago. We moved there in the early 90s, and I've been here ever since. We also have a house down in Savannah that we go to. We used to just go in the summers with our kids, but now that the kids are grown and flown, we live down there. It kind of started during COVID, and now we come back to Chicago in the summers. So I'm originally from Long Island, New York, though. So closet Knicks fan, kind of happy about it now. They won. I couldn't talk about the Knicks for 30 years, especially when I moved here.
No, it was 50 years. Okay, you get your numbers right.
But they did go to the finals back in '94. So that's why I say 30 years. But I came here in '92, and I couldn't be a Knicks fan when Jordan is ruling the world. So I had to become a Bulls fan. So I've been a closet Knicks fan for a while. So it was kind of cool to see them win the championship.
Well, listen, so I've moved around a lot too. Born and raised in Philly. My parents were New Yorkers, but I've lived all over the world. You just be geographically honest. You are where you are. So if you happen to live in Chicago, of course you can embrace the Bulls.
And it's easy to, the Bulls, the Hawks, had 3 Stanley Cups. The Bears are just easy to root for, and then the Cubs won while I've been here. So it's been easy to become a Chicago fan.
That doesn't mean you're ditching New York. You can still love that. Right. It's just your universe has expanded.
And I did go to high school for years in Philly. I went in Pottstown in the Hill School.
Oh, we played lacrosse against you guys. We hated you. You treated us like we were serfs back then. But you had good lacrosse teams. I'll give you credit.
Good hockey teams too. We had a couple guys make it to the NHL from those teams.
So tell me this. Like, I think a lot of creative people, I suspect you were in that bunch. At some point, there's a book cooking in them. Like, how long was the book cooking in you? And then how did you get it on the plate?
Well, it's interesting because I listened to that podcast and then I started thinking about it. And I first started to write a book about
hold on, Ryan. Back that up. The podcast you're talking about is The Golfer's Journal with Tom Coyne, my boy from Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Right. And
I'm a huge Paper Tiger fan. That's one of my favorite books I've ever read.
It's the first Tom Coyne book I've ever read, but I've read them all.
Yeah.
And they're great because Tom is great. Mm-hmm. And I like to call him the conscience of American golf. Does that sound about right to you?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, he could be the most important person in American golf. He's so unique and he has such a strong voice, but he does it with such grace and elegance, and just everything he does is done the right way. It's kind of like Mike Kaiser. Everything he touches, he does it the right way, and look what happens. Everybody wants to attend. So
when you're talking about the Kaisers, you're talking about all the Cabot stuff and
and Bandon and Cabot. It's 100%
unbelievable. If it's Cabot, it's good. It's like Disney used to be. If it was Disney, it's like it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you're listening to a podcast
on fly fishing of all things. I just thought it was so unique that he was interviewing this guy who wrote a great book on fly fishing, and I really was interested in listening to it because I had been fly fishing, and I'm not a fly fisherman, but I'm intrigued with the whole concept. I've been on a couple of mission trips with a guy who is obsessed with fly fishing and is always telling me that I need to do more of it as a means of kind of being one with the earth. So I have this little sneaky interest in it, even though I'm not any good at it, and I haven't done it but once in my life. So I listened to the podcast, and when I finished, I was thinking, his story is similar to mine in the sense that I think I could write 18 holes of the lessons I've learned playing golf that are applicable to life and kind of what I've learned about golf that's unique. And I started to do that. And when I finished the book, I shared it with a couple of people, and they were kind of like, this is okay, but it's just kind of, you're just telling me like, this is this. So basically they were, my audience was saying this wasn't going to sell, but they loved the first chapter of the book, which is where I started talking about my neighbor across the street. And the comment was, why don't you write more chapters like that and take me into the story instead of saying, and then I went to Bandon Dunes and I saw the ocean and it was great. Like, nobody cares. So right. I literally scrapped the whole thing. And in about 3 weeks' time, I got into this really good flow state of trying to recount, like chronologically almost, my life in golf and the things that impacted me. And I just started typing away and it just sort of happened. And
I think what you got to the core, though, is when you go back to the roots, we all have a beginning story. We all have an influencer in our lives. For a lot of people, it's their father, but for you, it was a neighbor.
Right.
This, by the way, sounds like my late father's story with fly fishing. It was a neighbor that introduced him to fishing. And to me, as an author, I think the trick is to get the reader to vicariously substitute themselves in your place and feel what you're feeling, compare it to what they know, and say, yeah, I'm with Ryan on this. I know exactly what you're saying, or maybe a little bit different. But if they're immersed in it and they're vicariously living it in their own way, you got them. And am I walking down the right path with you?
And I've gotten about 50 texts. The book just went live last week, so it's been live on Amazon since last Thursday morning, so it's literally 1 week. And I've had probably 50 different texts of people taking one or the other story out of the book and saying, I had the exact same experience, or I can remember when I had a loop. Like my second chapter is about my years as a caddy and my nightmare of the first day in the caddy yard and various other things that happen. And it's pretty funny, most of it. And then there's a couple where you're listening, you're reading, and you're just like, oh, this poor guy, this can't be happening. Like, it's just, but if you've ever caddied, you know those loops. They just,
no, let's get into it. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
Tell me about what happened in the caddy yard, the stories you remember and how it made you feel, and where was it?
Sure. So it was on Long Island. It was at a club in Glen Cove. I'll just leave the name off, but it was a private club in Glen Cove. And my late grandmother happened to be a member there. And I was looking for work in the summer. I'd played some golf with my neighbor, and it was the following summer. And she said, you should go be a caddy at the club. You can make good money there and be outside all day. And I thought, well, shoot, I don't know anything about caddying or what that even is, but I like golf. I've played with the neighbor a few times. I like being outside, and it's a good workout. So perfect. I'll do that during the day. And I got dropped off there at the yard. And the night before, my late mother had said to me, you're going to a private club. You probably should wear a nice golf shirt and some nice shorts, and you should probably bring some golf magazines when you go so that you can fit in with the other caddies. And, knowing nothing, I was like, okay. I just took her advice, and I showed up the next morning at 6 a.m., golf magazine stuffed under my arm, in a nice golf shirt and shorts, and I pretty much got laughed out of the caddy yard.
Because you were coming across like a poser.
Yeah, I was coming across like a member's kid. And even though my grandmother was the member, they didn't even know I was a member's kid yet. So it was just what I was wearing was just like, back then it was t-shirts and shorts, and the caddies worked for the golfers, and everyone knew their place, and it was a pecking order type thing. And I got ridiculed for hours on end. And then it got worse because one of the senior caddies was talking to the caddy master, and he told them that my grandmother was a member. So he came running back to tell all the other caddies that I was, a grandson of a member. And then they were all making fun of me about that. And it was one of those times where you're just sitting there going, somebody just light me on fire. I can't spend one more minute in this situation being made fun of. And, ultimately it ended. Mercifully, about 6 hours later, I got my first loop as a single caddy. And
Stop. Do you remember how much you made on your first loop?
$11 a bag. No tip.
That's pretty. Okay.
No tip, no drink. Just $11 a bag. That was it.
Yeah, but that was pretty good money.
I thought I was rich.
Yes.
I was $11 a bag, and then towards the end of the summer, I got to carry 2 bags. Now I was making $22 a loop. I was doing 36 a day, and I was making $44. Like, I had way more money than any of my friends did. And I was actually really enjoying it. And so the first day of the caddy yard was a nightmare, but it was a character building experience. And,
absolutely.
there have been many times in my life where I've been in really rough social situations like that and thought back to those days and thought, no matter what anyone says to me, I'm not going to feel worse than I did when I was 12, 13 years old in the caddy yard. So, but there's the book expands on it pretty dramatically. And then, it goes into some of my fun loops. Like, I'll just tell you one quick story. Like, I had one guy that I carried all the time for a younger member. He's like 30, 32 years old, maybe. And I used to get him late in the afternoon, a lot of times after I'd already been out in the morning, because I was a single, and he would come out and play by himself in the afternoon. And one time we were out there on the 11th hole, and it's kind of down in the valley, like it turns right and then goes back uphill. And he just asked me what I would hit from where we were. I gave him a number and told him I'd probably hit a 7-iron, and he took the 7-iron out and handed it to me and said, "Okay, go ahead and hit it." And I was freaking out because I was looking all around and I was thinking, I'm going to get fired if I do this. And he's like, "Don't worry about it. It's Sunday afternoon. There's nobody out here. Just go hit it." And I hit it and hit it on the green, not close to the pin, but got it up there. And then he carried the bag up the hill for me. And it was just one of those things where I got to the top. I was like running after him going, "You can't do this. I'm going to get fired." And he's like, "Just don't even worry about it. Why don't you enjoy yourself? You've been out here all day long." And, I had some horrible loops that I also talk about in the book, but boy, oh boy, that was one moment I'll never forget. And it kind of inspired me to be that kind of a member when I take caddies now. So, I've been at a club for 20 years or so, and I can't tell you how many caddies I've taken over the years, many, 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 but I always endeavor to be the kind of loop I wanted to get when I was a kid. 100%. And
yes,
I feel like if I can make their day better, as well as they're making my day better. And especially I like to take the young guys because, I'm a little bit of a cheap ass, but not only are they cheaper, but I really like to work with the young guys too, because, I like to, I don't want to be the guy that's beating on them. Some guys do and blame them all the time. I'd rather like walk with them and ask them on the green, "Hey, what are you seeing with this putt here?" I don't need them to read my putts, but I like to walk them through it and say, what do you see here? And kind of challenge them to read the break. And, then a lot of times I'll rake the bunkers and show them kind of what a good raking job looks like versus a bad raking job, and just little things like that. But I enjoy that because I feel like I'm passing on a legacy of something that I grew up doing and really feel passionate about it. It's a great way to meet people. For example, my older son, and this isn't in the book, but he also caddied while he was in college and younger, and wound up, that's how he got his job out of college. He caddied for a guy who, crazy story. I guess we have time, I can tell you, but so this guy he's caddying for him at this club in Chicago, and the guy continually is requesting my son over and over and over again. And I'm thinking, that's really cool. Like I used to get requested sometimes, and you always feel great when someone's asking for you. So this guy kept asking for him, and lo and behold, I'm on a golf trip at Oakmont in Pittsburgh, and I'm sitting across the table from this guy, and he's telling me about this caddy at his club in Chicago. And I'm kind of putting two and two together because my son had told me about this guy who's always requesting me. He's like, "I request him every day. I'm for sure hiring this guy as soon as he's done with college." And he's like, he goes to Ole Miss, and I'm thinking to myself, this can't really be happening right now, can it? And then I said, "Does he happen to look a lot like me, but with red hair and blue eyes?" And he goes, "Yeah, come to think of it, he does." And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be my son." So
that's a great story.
Greatest coincidences, we're on a golf trip, and then sure enough, he was true to his word. That summer, he said to my son, "What are you doing when you graduate?" My son's like, "I'm not really sure. I am a finance major." He said, "I can tell you what you're going to do. You're going to come work for me."
That's awesome.
You're going to intern this whole year while you're in school. You're going to take all the commercial real estate exams. We're going to get you all papered up and ready to go. And as soon as we're done with the year, you'll come work here. And my son was like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And he's been in commercial real estate for 4 years since then. So it's really worked out well.
That's fantastic. Like the caddy yard that I grew up in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania, suburban Philadelphia. So my experience was like, oh my God, I'm around grown men who there were a lot of my contemporaries who were in their early teens. I was 12 when I started caddying, but I'm like, oh my God, everybody's older than me. Here's some grown men. culturally, we're all over the place, socioeconomically, racially, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, this is something. But like in the end, staying the course, we knew the caddies that were like, caddying wasn't going to be a lifetime. We had smart kids, we had motivated kids. And I got to tell you, a number of the kids I caddied with, and it's a surprise to nobody, they're all members at that club. And one is the president of the club. Yeah. And nobody is surprised one bit because they were the motivated ones. They were good caddies, they were smart kids, all the above. Yep. But there were people like you that kind of coached them up and helped them along the way, or like the guy you just talked to about your son. Yeah. Because how you caddy, kind of, it's like your golf game. It reveals character.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you'll see it. Does this person have the hustle? Do they have the drive, attention to detail? Da, 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 da.
Well, I've always been of the mindset of how you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. And, I've kind of lived by that. And that was kind of a little bit of the thesis of the book too, because I'm such a grinder and such a perfectionist as a person that when I played golf, I just wanted to be really, really good. I was a good hockey player. I took it pretty far, and I thought, a decent player. I've been down to maybe a 5 handicap at one point, and usually sit somewhere 7 or 8. But I've always wanted to be a scratch or better, and I've always thought if I just practice more, I can get there. And as I've gotten older, that was kind of the aha moment of the book was, man, I've been chasing the top 100 courses. I've been chasing better scores. I've been chasing, whatever, winning member guests or whatever it might be. What was the point of it all? Maybe that wasn't the point. Maybe my neighbor actually had the right point, which was I should just be enjoying where I am and getting to play all the time and being where my feet are. And that was the book. Kind of starts with me as a kid, meanders through my whole life in golf, chasing the top 100, going all through that, and then kind of comes back around to my realization that I'm here. Like I've realized that, and now I'm going on golf trips with my sons, and the whole thing has come full circle, and it's such a beautiful game because it brings people together of all different ages, skill sets. It just doesn't matter. Like you can just be out there having a good time all the time. And it's just something I look forward to. And nowadays, like whenever I see I have 3 kids, but whenever I see my 2 sons, I would say 75% of the time it's playing golf, which is just fantastic. I mean,
not a surprise. It's a vehicle that gets us together. Mm-hmm. Like you, I play golf when it was not cool. Let's just say Tiger made it cool.
Yep.
I played the other sports and everything. And the good athletes at my school that made fun of me for playing golf, well, guess who's playing more golf than anybody else,
sure.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, all those guys that I was afraid to tell when I was playing hockey with, those are all the guys I play golf with now. That's all we want to do.
It's all we can play now, and that's the vehicle that gets us together. And with your golf trips, it's not so much about the destination. That's great, but it's really about the connections with people. Is that what you get at in Fool's Errand, the book that you wrote?
I tell a funny story. I took my 2 sons and my father-in-law to Bandon Dunes, which I think is the best golf trip in the U.S. I've been a lot of places, and I just think nothing really compares, at least that I've found, that is accessible to everyone, I would say. And while I was there, I got so enthralled in it was like such a cup runneth over moment for me to be there with my 2 boys, my father-in-law, someone I've played 1,000 rounds of golf with over my life and have been very close with. And then my 2 sons, I think this was 2019. So they were my younger one was probably 19 and my older one was maybe 23. So they were just starting to get into the meat of like really enjoying golf, starting to play pretty well, getting their handicaps down low. And, we were there 2 days and I had forgotten completely to call home, and I called my wife to tell her about the trip, and she's like, gosh, you hadn't called in 2 days. Like what's been going on? I said, this trip's been so great. And I was telling her all about the boys and about my father and her dad and how much fun we were having, and how we played 36 and the boys and I played an extra 18, and it was just so much fun, and we had dinner, and then she's like, well, have you taken any time to stop and like smell the roses and really think about it? And I said to her, I'll never forget, I said, my cup runneth over. This might be the best thing I've ever done in my whole life. And then I just sat there for a second, like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And there was just silence on the other end. And my wife took it really well. And, we joke about it now, but it was one of those moments where I got so emotional over how great it was to be on a golf trip with my two sons that I'd never done before, and my father-in-law, I'd been on countless trips with, but merging 3 generations together. The next 2 days, I was just able to walk the fairways and just really enjoy the moments, good, bad, or indifferent on the course. And beautiful. Gosh, it was just fantastic. And I read a whole chapter on that in the book of the funny stories of that trip, because there are always hilarious stories on all golf trips, but also just the thin place moment that was, where you just feel like it's a slice of heaven. And you don't know when it's going to happen again. It might not ever happen again. We don't know what tomorrow holds. So, it's one of those things where if you can be where your feet are and really kind of dive into the moment, I think it can be a life-changing thing. And just to tie a bow on that, a couple of years, we all took a picture on the 16th hole at Bandon, which has this amazing crevice through the middle of it. And it was kind of a cool picture. The caddy took it for us. And my son gave it to us for Father's Day a couple of years back, which was very emotional moment. But then even now, like...
Stop. Was it wrapped up and framed?
Yes.
And you saw it? Mm-hmm. Did you cry? Be honest.
I didn't, but I was very close. I was tearing up. Yeah, I was very close. And my father-in-law definitely had a couple tears. But then a couple of weeks ago, you know how your iPhone kind of shows you memories and stuff? My older son must have got a memory from that same photo, and he texted it to my brother, to his brother and me, my other son, and said, still the greatest trip of a lifetime. Can't wait till we can do it with our kids and you, 3 generations again. And wow. I just, okay, my work is done here. Like, this is what I was hoping for. So,
well, I mean, it's only golf and fishing that can produce that, because there's the proper time to appreciate what you have, the scenery, mm-hmm. the quietness of it, like the proximity of everybody to everybody else.
And the things you see when you're out there too, like being out in nature, whether it's I just out there the other day and saw a bald eagle, like, man, oh man, how cool is that? Or, I was playing out in Jackson Hole, and we saw all these moose and, these crazy things that you see on the golf course, and you're just like, wow, a gator or whatever it might be, it's just pretty awesome to be kind of at one with nature, and just, I don't know, there's something about it. It's just pretty special when you can get
100%, but you have to be present to appreciate it all.
Yeah, if you're focused on your score or the shot you just hit, and how angry you are that, man, I had a wedgie and I should be within 10 feet and I'm in the bunker, you're going to miss everything.
Right.
So, there's a time and a place for that competitive streak, but that's kind of the whole thesis of the book is, put it in its proper place. You can be competitive if you're playing a match, but by and large, most of us aren't going to be pros. Very few of us are Scotty Scheffler or, Cam Young or anyone like that. We're recreational golfers, good, bad, or indifferent, whether we're a scratch or a 30 handicap. We're not on tour and we're not making money playing this game. So might as well enjoy it for all that it is. And that goes even for the practice. Like, I like to go to the range and practice still, because that's just kind of how I'm wired. But these days, I really look forward to just going and hitting balls and being out there and, see what I see. Even if I don't even going to play, I just like being at the club and hitting balls and, imagining what might be. That's good enough.
Because you're outside and you're connecting with the ground. Ryan Schiff, the author of A Fool's Errand, is our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. If golf real estate is in your plans, no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club in the greater Sarasota area, and nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh, Samantha Walsh, and Vince Visacaro, suncoastdreams.com. And if all that golf has you tuckered out and you need just a day to unwind, get a mani-pedi, or do cold water plunge like Ryan, then go to Violet Spot in downtown Sarasota. So at some point you decided, I might have something. I'm going to start writing, and then you caught fire. What happened?
I just got in a good flow state and started writing. And as I was reading it, and all I was really doing was writing my own stories. So it wasn't like I had to research anything. I was just doing it all from memory. So it became one of these things where, can I tell this in a way where people can put themselves in my spot and really kind of walk with me on the journey? And I feel like I did that, even though I'm not an author by trade. I'm terrible with grammar, so I'd have an editor kind of fix all the grammar and stuff like that. But the story, when I sent it to the editor that I hired, who's in Nebraska, I have a Nebraska connection because I used to own a team out there, a hockey team. But I sent it.
Whoa, stop. Okay, now we're talking my stuff. What hockey team did you own?
The Lincoln Stars in the United States Hockey League.
Wow.
So okay. I was very heavy into junior hockey for a while.
You should be. It's so good. Hockey's the best. Oh, that's a different conversation. But your grammar's atrocious? Is that what you're saying?
I would say atrocious. I would say it's not the best. It's certainly not. I can't just write a book and then publish it without having an editor run through it. So she definitely did a good job. But when I knew I had a story was, she's not a golfer at all. And she read the book and she said, I had tears in my eyes like 7 or 8 times in this book. And I laughed out loud multiple times. And she said, I didn't understand any of the golf jargon in the middle. Like when you go through kind of what happened on a trip, or, putts, or you're telling funny stories about golf. She said, but I have to tell you, from beginning to end, I was enthralled with the stories that you were telling. And I could really resonate with the relationships that you have and can be a little envious of. Honestly, you've made some really cool friends over the years, and the way that you told it. And I just thought, okay, well, I might be onto something here. And so I just kept going with it. And I designed the cover myself. The cover's supposed to be me walking kind of towards my dream, because I've been trying to play the top 100 for the better part of 2 decades. And there's some funny stories in there as well about my chase of the top 100 and kind of the crazy things that have happened. And
how many of the top 100 have you played?
99.
Whoa! You're like my buddy Jeff Metzger from Wellesley Country Club. He's been a past guest here on. You're both stuck on 99. You should get together and get. I think I know what number 100 is. I'm not going to say.
Most people can figure it out, but
yeah,
I didn't say it in the book, and I don't plan to say it. But
yeah, you can't say it.
It'll happen or it won't.
You're invited.
It'll happen or it won't.
Perfect. Who was your editor of your book?
A woman named Cindy Conger, and she's in Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow. So she gave you the acid test, cleaned it all up, made it nice and tidy.
Really cool that she liked the book so much, and I thought, okay, I know golfers will like this book, because you're going to resonate with the stories. You're going to laugh at the caddy yard stuff. You're going to laugh at the funny stories of my son's putt, and the various different escapades of golf trips. All golfers are like that. But if someone who's a non-golfer and knows nothing about it, and is a 50-year-old woman, give or take, love the relationship side of it, then I think I got something here.
Yes. That's the gold. That's the gold you're looking for. I mean, the golf stuff should sing to the golfers, but when somebody that doesn't really get it, because that's how we connect as people, is the emotional side of things and the relationships. Yes.
And that's why the original book that I wrote was so bad, but this one was just me telling stories, and it was fun. I really enjoyed getting it all on paper. I hadn't ever sat down and thought about kind of my life in golf and all the various things that I've done over the years. I've been really lucky to have a lot of opportunity to play some really cool courses. I've had work opportunities where I was in various places. I played golf in Vietnam and Hong Kong and Singapore and all sorts of different places. And with that comes stories and adventures and people that you meet. And chasing the top 100 is always like you're doing home and homes, and you're calling a buddy from a course. Hey, do you know anyone at this course? And you're constantly networking. And boy, the people that you meet on those journeys, some of those guys have become my best friends. There's a whole chapter in there on my 34-year-old. My kids call him my BFF, because he's basically the same age as all my kids. But I've been on 7 golf trips with this guy, because we really get along well, and we just hit it off. And yet here he could be one of my kids, but we get along well, and he's always inviting me on trips, and I always laugh, is this guy seriously inviting me? But we have a good time, and so he got a whole chapter in the book because it's current. I go on a lot of trips with him. So,
well, if you play golf, you're my friend, and therefore we're friends. And anybody I've ever played golf with, they're my friend.
Yeah.
Harvey Phoenix said first, but it's so true. It's so wise. You can take it to the bank because golf attracts just solid people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Solid people. Tell me this, Ryan. What would life be like without golf in it for you?
Wow. That's a great question. I would have to find a new hobby for sure. Being 60, I couldn't play hockey probably 5 or 6 days a week now. So I'm really not sure what I'd be doing. Life would be a lot more empty, I would say, without golf. And, if you think about taking golf out, it's not just the sport, it's the relationships too. So there'd be a lot of friendships that would be gone. There'd be a lot of time spent at the course that would have to be filled doing something else. I'm not really sure what. Life would be a lot different. Golf is an enhancer in my life for sure. It's something I look forward to doing. It's something I look forward to doing with friends, reconnecting. I was just texting with one of my suite mates in college because I mentioned him in the book, and he wound up playing the NHL. A good guy. We haven't talked in years, but you know how that is. You spent so much time in the locker room. One text and we're right back like it's been 5 minutes since we talked. And we were chatting. The first thing we both said is, well, let's try to tee it up sometime this summer. Where are you going to be? Where am I going to be? Let's try to find a mutual place that we can play. And, without that, I guess you'd just go and see friends. And I'm not sure. It'd be less interesting. And, it would take away one of my biggest passions in life, which would be
well, it just has such a profound role in your life and my life and anybody that listens to this.
Maybe
podcast.
I'd be a fly fisherman. I don't know.
Well, that'd be great too, but it's like the same thing. If you didn't have fly fishing in your life, like you'd have to subtract all those people that you've met through fly fishing and golf and everything I have in my life. There's a golf connection. Everything.
I'm kind of at that same point now too. Even my hockey connections have become now golf connections. Like the guys, all the hockey guys I know. I'm hosting a couple guys next week who play in the NHL or buddy's a friend of mine. And, I'm certain that after we play, we'll be friends as well. Not only are we both hockey guys, but we're both golf guys now. So I would say pretty much 95% of the people that I'm friendly with are golf guys and or hockey guys. So,
well, hockey's a whole different culture, but if you play hockey, pro hockey or whatever, you have to play golf or you're going to be left behind because that's all anybody does in the downtime. And aside from whatever they're talking about, they're always talking about golf and you have to play golf or you're going to be left behind. But that's life too. Tell me a great story. Just a good golf story that always brings the house down.
So I was really lucky. My father-in-law took my brother-in-law and me to the Greenbrier. Well, he took our whole family when my daughter was born. So this is like 30 plus years ago. And we got to play around with Sam Snead when he was 83 years old, I think, maybe 82. And basically all but blind. He had cataracts. He was the pro emeritus at Greenbrier because he had spent his whole life there basically as, back when he started being a golf pro was really working the pro shop and then hustling guys on the side. There wasn't money to be made in tournaments. You made money by betting people that you could beat them in certain ways. So he was telling us a lot of great stories about that. And Sam was kind of a funny guy because he was known as this kind of curmudgeon type person. So we didn't know what we were going to get. My father-in-law had played with him a couple times because the company he worked for owned the Greenbrier back then. And so he had set this up for us, and my brother-in-law and I were so excited. We were like in our mid-20s or late 20s or whatever. I guess it would have been late 20s. And two funny stories from this. So we get to the first tee, and Sam pulls up in a golf cart with the dog. And the dog is kind of his eyesight, basically. He can see well enough to drive the cart, but he's very limited on his vision. But he's telling us that, on the first tee that I play this course from memory. I've played Old White 1,000, 2,000 times in my life, 5,000 times, who knows how many times. So on the first hole, he hits a drive right down the middle, just perfect Sam swing Snead. I think Sam Snead swing. I think his swing is still the logo for the PGA Tour, if I'm not mistaken, his finish. But anyways, pipes it down the middle, then asks us kind of roughly how far he is, knocks it on the green, and he's telling us all the while, I can't really see that well, so you're going to have to kind of guide me around. We get on the green, and he's like, okay, well, where's the hole? And we're looking at him like, is he serious right now? And he's like, where is it? Like, just tell me proximity. And my father-in-law said, well, it's on the kind of lower left-hand side, just a couple feet off the bunker. And he's like, oh, okay, down in the left quadrant on the side. Okay, fine. So he putts, and he rolls it to about 2 inches. And this is literally just out of memory because he clearly can't see. Well, my father-in-law, by instinct, just picks up the ball because it's good and says, great putt, Sam, and tosses it back to him like that. And it hits him right in the chest. And Sam's like, you effing idiot, I just told you I can't see. What are you doing? Why are you throwing golf balls at me? And he was really mad, and we were just bursting out laughing. And then we played more with him, and he was talking about Arnold Palmer, and he's saying, like, everyone calls him the king. What is he the king of? He has the worst swing on tour. Like, what is he the king of? And he's kind of just this old, like, curmudgeon type guy. But the coolest part was, he says to us, I think we're on about the 12th hole or 13th hole or whatever, and he says, all right, so I got a question for you guys. What do you think my ringer score here is over my lifetime? Meaning, if you took the best he's ever done on all 18 holes, what would I shoot? And we were just sitting there thinking, okay, well, this is an interesting question. So at the time, there were 4 par 5s. I think there's only 2 now because they've changed it for the PGA Tour, but there were 4 par 5s and 4 par 3s. So what would you think his ringer score would be? Like the best he did, if you took the best on every hole and added it up?
21 under.
So that would be 51, right? That's about what I guessed. I think I guessed 51. My father-in-law guessed 48. And he's like, no, you guys are way off. He's like, the ringer score is 38. I've 2'd every par 4. I've made a hole-in-one on every par 3. And I've had 2 albatrosses on the par 5s. Add them up, it's 38.
Oh, my God.
And you're just sitting there like, can this be real? But yeah, so he's made it.
It probably is.
And he said it just like that. I've 2'd every par 4, and I've eagled every par 5, but 2 of them I made albatross on.
It's probably true. But I love golfers of that era. They just told it like it was. They didn't give a shit if you didn't like it. You know, exactly. They just told it like it was.
So that was just an unreal opportunity to play around with a living legend. And he died not too long after that, maybe a year or 2 after that. So I was very grateful to get to do that. And man, it was impressive and he shot 81. Couldn't see and shot 81, and he was 83. So he played it back with us. Like, you know, he played normal tees. Like it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And just a fun memory. I'll never forget him saying that, you know, what his ringer score was. That was just incredible. I think
I kind of like the Arnold story too, because I never heard a bad word of it. It's not that he's bashing Arnold, but
he's just like, what is he the king of?
I know. It's like Arnold's off limits, like, but what Arnold's.
So when you're Sam Speed and you've won 84 times, well, maybe he's not off limits to you.
Oh, Sam can say whatever the hell he wanted to say. Ryan, really enjoyed the conversation here. Where can people get the book?
The easiest place is Amazon. I think the link will be in the show notes. Yeah, there. That link, it goes directly to the book. Right now, it's available in paperback, which has a nice cover on it. Or you can get it on, I think it's Kindle or Apple iBooks, whatever that is. And then I think in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be available on Audible, but it's not yet. I still have to finish the recording. I'm doing it myself, and it's first time through, so it's a little bit of a challenge. My son has a podcast, and he's helping me with the audio version of it.
Oh, I've recorded 2 of my books, and it's not reading, buddy. It's acting.
Yeah.
Right? But it's your voice, but it's your words, and so, like, you know, the mark of a good author is you hear their voice when you see the words, but then you can hear them too. So, good luck with that, man. A lot of water. Take some breaks, and looking forward to playing a round of golf with you.
I'd love to. That would be absolutely fantastic.
All right. Ryan Schiff has been our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. His book is called A Fool's Errand. It's available on Amazon.com. You can get it in Kindle, and the audio version is soon to come out. Big thanks to Party Drinks, our title sponsor. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. If golf real estate is in your plans, no better place than the greater Sarasota area and Lakewood National Golf Club, and no better golf real estate pros than Gene Walsh, Vince Vizicaro, and Samantha Walsh. SuncoastDreams.com and BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. Ryan Schiff, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
Thank you.